We're filling up fast. That everyone's doing well. Let's give it a minute for people to file in. Paul's with us.
What's up?
Paul, what's going on?
Oh, he's running my video.
Just waiting to see. Usually takes about a minute for everybody to log in.
Okay, cool.
Do you have video?
Yeah, it says can't start a video because the host has stopped it.
Doesn't sound like me. Let me see if I make you a co-host, if that will.
You're now the co-host. Let's try it. Boom.
Hey. All right, I believe we start on time, so anybody that comes late comes late.
Cool.
So hey everyone, welcome again. Remember, if you have questions, toss them in the chat. Today, for the first part of this, Paul's gonna introduce himself here in a minute, and then we're gonna talk about the buyer lead group that Paul runs here at Cameron, how to work your way into it, what it means specifically. Paul, you're gonna do some talk about the script and stuff like that. And so, yeah, that's it. Again, another, like, the benefit of this is you're getting a head start on working your way into a buyer group, which I was literally just talking to somebody about it. If I were still selling full time, I would make the buyer group part of my revenue stream every year. May lessen year to year, but I would, for Paul, I mean, for short hours a week, going to trainings and script practicing and calling them, making the calls you're supposed to make to the leads that are provided, you could easily do a few deals a year for 5, 6, 7 deals a year for short hours, for a short investment of time. But we'll talk about that. Just me, if I were selling full time and I were looking to be an agent full time again, even if I was building my own business separately, I would make this part of my revenue stream just because of the simplicity of it, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Absolutely.
All right, so Paul, why don't you take a minute, introduce yourself, go pretty in depth, your background, what brought you to Cameron, what you're hoping to accomplish with the buyer lead group. I'll monitor for questions while you're talking. And then we'll go from there. We'll just take it from there.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks for the introduction. My name is Paul Sarnowski. I am the buyer team sales manager here with Cameron Real Estate. Great, exciting company. Real estate is something that I've always wanted to do. I've been in sales for about 15 years. I sold everything from door-to-door lawn care to online education systems to most recently payment processing, where I would be doing the grind, where I would go every single day and I'd be knocking on businesses' doors and get them to change our processing. So I'm not shy of rejection by any means, and I know exactly how to talk to somebody and how to pull information out of someone when they're not willing to give you the information. I came on board a few months ago with Cameron Real Estate, and we've been building the buyers team out pretty steadily, and so far it's going great. Richmond had talked about how great the buyers group is to get into, and he's absolutely right, especially for new agents. It's still really great for veteran agents, but it's even better for new agents. The reason why it's even better is because when you become a new agent, you generally don't have a huge sphere. You have your friends, you have your family, your old coworkers, your old neighbors, friends on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and wherever else. But depending on your age range, depending on everyone that you generally interact with, you may have a large group of people, but you may have a smaller group of people. Something that's going to really help with that is the buyer's leads. Now, what are the buyer's leads? The buyer's leads are leads that we acquire through Cameron, that we distribute to people in the buyer's group, that are people that are looking to buy a house right away or in the very near future, anywhere between now in the next 6 to 12 months. It all depends on the person. So why is that important? So you could talk to someone in your sphere and you could find someone that says, yeah, I'm looking to, get married soon. I'm looking to get a new job. I'm looking to buy a house. And, it sounds like someone that might be good, but when you get a buyer's group lead, it's someone that literally inquired online and is looking to buy right away. And that's huge because not only does it add to your sphere, but it also adds to referrals from when you get that close. Because when you get that close, everyone's going to say, wow, you did an excellent job, except for Richmond. Of course, they're not going to put them again. Okay. But everyone else that Richmond's training, they're going to love you guys. And they're going to say, you know what, my cousin is looking to buy a house. And, my next door neighbor is selling his house. Can you help him out? And your sphere is just going to grow exponentially from these leads. Okay. So, what you don't know is what you don't know when you first start any job. And that's across the board, but especially when it comes to real estate. So when I say you don't know means that you may think you got everything under the, ready to go, but you'll come across buyers that ask questions that you don't know the answers to. And you don't really want to deal with that with friends and family. You want to deal with that when it comes to a stranger from a buyer's lead, because practice makes perfect. These are leads that you can call and that, you'll pitch them, and you go through LP Mama, which I'll explain in a little bit. And you're going to practice, and you're going to get to that appointment, which is the end all be all to starting the beginning of the end of the sales process. Now, when you're just pitching friends and family and they have questions that you don't know the answer to, where do you go? You can go back to Richmond, you can Google online, you can figure it out. But when you're working the buyers group, you have a whole team of people around you who are ready to ask the question right then and there and answer it for you. So that turns a potential sale that you lost into a sale that you're going to push for the next 30 to 60 days. Okay.
So Paul, right now, I think it's a good time to explain again, everybody on this is not licensed yet, right? So I think with so many programs and ways to do things here at Cameron, I think people can easily get, the waters can get muddied, type of thing. So the difference between the productivity coaching group and Paul's buyer lead group, you can be in both and work both simultaneously. But the way I see it, Paul, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the buyer lead group is where you're going for your training on like scripting and buyer consults and role playing, which we do a little bit of in the productivity group. And then Paul, your function is like to make sure you're staying on top of them, to make sure they're staying on top of the calls. We've handed you a cache of leads. We want to make sure, because we're spending money on those leads, that not only are you doing the follow-up, but you're doing it appropriately, or well enough that it's passable. Whereas like Paul referenced it a couple times in his opening, that when you have a question about like, oh my God, what do I do now? Like I just got an offer accepted. Now what the hell do I do? You come back to the productivity coaching group. And that's where my job is, to help you with that stuff. So there's a lot of people that are in both groups simultaneously and working inside both groups. So the productivity coaching group's really for the day-to-day logistical pieces of a real estate transaction. And I think the buyer group's more of the broader spectrum of, here, we're going to give you leads, but we're only going to give you leads if you're doing the work and continue to do the work.
Exactly. And that's 100% accurate. And that's actually bringing me to my next point. So what if you want to be in the buyers group? What if you want to learn more about it? How do you get into this group? Okay. So what you need to do is you obviously need to learn as much as you can from Richmond. Okay. You need to learn as much as you can from the modules online. You need to obviously get your license before or working on it while you're looking into the buyers group. And you need to be willing to learn. You need to be someone that does better, which is being coached, does better with someone that's, holding you accountable, does better from group learning, from being able to learn best practices. I have many reps who started in many of the same positions you're in right now, just getting started, and they only started a few weeks ago, who are absolutely crushing it right now because they're following the system. They're following my leads. They're following the follow-up, the LP Mama, the buyer's council, and everything they're doing, and they're making the calls. And, I'm working with them after every single call, after every single conversation they have. And twice a week, we're going through the scripting and we're making mock calls, and we're making sure that we get better and better every single week to get to that point where we are perfect on the phones, or as perfect as we possibly can be, so that we're able to really take advantage of those leads and really get them closed. just this morning, I had a new agent who just got her license maybe 3 weeks ago, and she's been following the system perfectly. And she's already made 2 appointments. She's got several ready to go, several more ready to close, and she's just doing amazing. And she's following the systems, and that's what works great.
Yeah, Paul, I was going to say too that there's we may be talking about the same person who she just got an offer accepted last night it was a self-generated lead, but she's in the buyer group. I know she's working the buyer leads, but again, this is where the marriage of the two programs synchronizes, right? She has calls out to buyers, and when she has questions about like the forms and the documents and what needs to be signed and when it needs to be signed, she circles back around to me. But again, she's had her license like 3 weeks and just got her first offer accepted last night in a multiple offer situation, which is incredible.
Yep. And that's from, that was her own personal, but she's also working the buyer's leads as well.
Right, exactly.
A lot of follow-ups. So this isn't something that's going to completely take over your own sphere. This is something that's just going to help you get started, help you add on to your sphere, and help you really build up your sales skills. Not everyone that comes into real estate is an expert salesperson. A lot of people have just been interested their whole life because it is a great career, and we're here to assist. We're here to help you with your sales experience, with your closing, with your opening, with the scripting, really with everything that you possibly need to get to that point where you're self-sufficient. And even when you feel like you are self-sufficient, I have people in the group that have been here doing real estate for over a year, and they come back and they say, well, hey, I'm struggling with XYZ. They go to a couple trainings and they say, that's perfect. I'm really going to use that information. I'm really going to use that objection overcoming objection in the scripts. And then they're able to really boost their sales. That's great.
Paul, what would you talk about scripting for a second? Because again, I know we throw the term around because we know what we mean, but what would you say? I think it was you who said it the other day. So I have a nice quote I think you used the other day in our staff meeting about scripting, but can you just talk about when we say scripting, like what do you mean? Because a lot of people on the call might not even understand like what you're talking about.
Sure.
And just kind of explain that a little more in depth.
So you put me in the spot with the quote because I don't remember what it was, but maybe we'll figure it out.
It wasn't a quote, it was something you said. So you said that the person on the other end of the phone doesn't, if you're good at it, they don't know you're reading a script.
Exactly. So let me talk a little more. That's a good point. So let me talk a little more about scripting. A lot of people, don't have a sales background, so they don't know anything about what scripting means. Some people do have a sales background and they hear the word scripting and they think to themselves, oh, what was the worst salesperson that's ever called me? And you could tell that they were reading from a script and you just want to hang up on them. Okay. So when I say that, that is the opposite of what we're doing here. When we go through scripting, I do it purposely because first, it gets all the information that you need in order to close the sale. And second, it doesn't sound like a script. Now that may seem confusing when I say, oh, we're going over scripting, but I don't want it to sound like a script. But the reason we go through it step by step is because it finds the information, it makes the person feel comfortable, it gets them excited, it relives their motivation, it finds out the information like whether they have an agent already for you, and then it really gets to the close. So as long as you follow all the steps in the scripting we have here, it's going to make your life a lot easier because the last thing you want to do is get off the phone and say, geez, what could I have done differently? So that's what I want to go over with that. I think at this point, we've been babbling on a long time. Are there any questions? Just go ahead and throw them in the chat.
If anyone had any questions. It's got to be some. Somebody's got to have questions. Start calling on people.
There we go.
So I was going to ask what Paul meant by LP Mama.
Sure. Great question. That's actually an excellent segue. So it goes into that. So let's ask a question out to the group here. What do you think LP Mama stands for? LPMAMA. Now in real estate, what is the most important thing people say they're looking for? It starts with an L. Leads. I like it.
Yes, but think of it from a buyer's perspective. Paul.
Boom, there we go. Loan. Hey, that's a good one too. You had it. Paul had it location. Okay. So the first part of LP Mama is location. So, oh, Tom got it. Thanks, Tom. I'm glad you got that one.
That's me. I'm on Tom's Zoom.
Oh, you're on Tom's account. Yeah. So location is the first part of the scripting. Okay. So when you talk to someone, you get them on the phone and they're talking about what you're looking to do, and what you're looking to get from that, the call from them. They're looking for location. You want to ask them questions like, is this the only place you're looking? It looks like you're on 123 in Haverhill. Are you only looking in Haverhill? Are you looking in town surrounding it? You want to find out everything it is to get as much information from them so you're able to close them later. Okay. Now we can go into location all day long, but of course we don't have all day long here. So, and this is why we do the scripting.
This is,
twice a
Paul,
week.
just to interject for a second, the LP Mom is nice, and the reason it works well is it doesn't sound like a script. Like, it just sounds like you're having a natural conversation with somebody who's interested in buying a house, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's just like, oh, you're looking in Haverhill. Is Haverhill the only town you're looking at? Have you considered other surrounding towns? Perfect, awesome. And everything they say is the best thing ever, right? And then you're on, so keep going. Sorry, I just think that's why LP Mama works, is that.
Yep. Feel free to inject anytime. Exactly.
You literally, the LP Mama is like the one script, I think, not that you'd want to do this, you could read it off the page and it wouldn't sound like you're scripting.
And that's generally when I first start training the buyer's agents. I just have them read it straight off the page over and over again until they get it down and memorized, and then they can kind of start making their own. You got a question, looks like?
What does it take to get into the buyer group? Let's finish LP Mama, then we'll circle back to.
Yep, that's a great question, but we'll go ahead and we'll go into that after. Okay. So the next part is P. What does everyone think the P stands for? Boom, Ryan got right away. I was going to say Paul, but that's kind of, that's just me. So
He's Google searching.
Yeah, there we go. I think they are. They're checking out the Facebook page. P, okay. P stands for price. All right. Pretty straightforward. What price range you're looking at. Okay. At questions you want to ask, they're looking at a house that's $500,000. You know what you want to ask them if that's their max price. Are they looking at a range? Is that just a range for Haverhill? Is that a range for Methuen or wherever else they're looking? Okay. That's going to give you a better idea of what we're looking for and a much better idea of what they're able to spend. Okay. Now here's the next one. M. Let's see if you guys know this one.
Good one.
Oh, close. Motive is close. Motivation. There we go. Ellen, thank you. And Alex, perfect. Motivation. Okay. This is probably one of the most important parts of LP Mama. Okay. Motivation is the exciting part. It is the fun part. It is the I'm looking to go buy a house, just like you're going to look and buy anything else, a car, any kind of luxury item, a big screen TV. It's fun. So why are you looking for it? Okay. These are the questions that gets the person excited, gets them really going, and gets them saying, oh, I really want to get the motivation moving. Like my motivation for buying this house is I've been stuck in an apartment during COVID. That's a big one right now. Okay. Like everything shut down in the city. I want to move out. You know, my wife is pregnant. My 3 dogs are tearing up my apartment. Whatever they're saying is just more ammunition for you at the end of the call. If they say they're not ready to move forward, this is what you bring up again. Okay. So when you go, you're already gone through location, you've already gone through price, and now you're at motivation. Richmond, you got a question?
I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Gotcha. Okay. So Richmond will be back in 2 seconds. So we're going to move on to the next part. A, this is a tough one. What does A stand for? Got it. Paul got it. Agent. Okay. Now, this is the only question that we cannot directly ask them if they have an agent, because some people are going to say, yes, I have an agent, when they don't have an agent. And then you're already backpedaling on the call. Okay. That's the last thing you want to ask. Instead, you want to ask roundabout questions. Okay. How long you've been looking for a house? Do you generally just go online? When you go online, do you always talk to the same person? Have you gone to see any houses? All of these questions are a roundabout way of asking if they have an agent without asking them directly if they have an agent. Because if they do have an agent, that's something you're going to have to backpedal and figure out why the heck they're talking to you. Okay. Again, these are all things that we're going to go into in depth twice a week, every single week, and you'll be welcome to all these calls. All right. Next part, M. Second M, what does it stand for? Exactly, mortgage. Okay. Now, why is this important? Okay. This is important for a couple of reasons. We can see how serious they are. Okay, we can send them to one of our mortgage providers, someone that we know and trust, someone that we can, make sure it takes care of their needs. Okay, this is a great part to ask them. How do they plan on spending, paying for this home? Okay, generally I say when I call, it's like, hey, are you going to bring in a big cash bag of $100 bills? Or are you going to get a mortgage? Most people love that for some reason. They think it's the funniest thing in the world. Okay, get people laughing, build up that rapport. Find out, no, I'm going to go get a mortgage. Okay, well, great. Have you started that process yet? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. I'm not quite sure what to do in this whole process. I'm new to this. Get more information to get them to figure out where they are in the process, how much help they need, offer your assistance, offer them help so they feel more comfortable and they're more willing to work with you. And the final point is A. What is A? Boom, appointment. You got it. Okay. This is the point where you ask for the appointment. Okay. Now, what did I say was probably the most important part of LP Mama? So what letter? What letter was the most important part of LP Mama? Motivation. Exactly. Great job. All right. So the motivation is the most important part because you can have a great conversation. You can be best friends with this individual. You can be invited to their backyard barbecue. But if they tell you, no, I'm not ready to set an appointment right now, what do you have to fall back on? If you don't have their motivation, if you don't have their price range, if you don't have their location, you don't know if they have an agent or if you've even gotten a mortgage, you have really no way to close them because they told you no and you're not sure what else to do. So having all this information, having whether they have a mortgage, their location, the price, and especially their motivation. They told you that they need to get out of their city. Their lease is coming up soon. They have a baby on the way. Their dogs are destroying their apartment. They're looking to live by the ocean because that's always been their dream. They want to buy a retirement home, off the coast of Maine, New Hampshire, something like that. Okay. These are all things when they tell you no, that you have written down and you're ready to go. So you can say, well, what about your dream? I'm sorry, I may have missed something right here. I apologize. I talk about this all the time. I like to throw myself under the bus. I tell people that I sell a couple hundred houses a year. I really apologize. I maybe gone through this really fast. I may have missed something, but you seemed really excited about that cottage on the beach. So what is really holding you back from going ahead and meeting with me tonight or tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And you follow through with that and you get the appointment. Okay. Now, this is a script, but they have no idea you're reading a script. To them, the more you practice, the more conversational it sounds, and the better chance you're going to have to get to when you get to, appointment setting, all the ammo you have to rebuttal any objections they have to make the close. And that's what we do all the time. So kind of a little bit of a recap with the buyers group. So you become an agent, you're working on your license, you work with Richmond to get everything done. You come to the trainings, you're working on LP Mama, you're working on the buyer's script, which is something we discuss later time, and you're perfecting all your calls. Now, how the heck do you get into this group? All right. So the buyer's group is a group for newer agents that have gone through the training, have gone through everything, with Richmond, all the modules online, have come to a couple different meetings, have practiced LP Mama, have, pitched me with LP Mama, and I think they're good enough to give it a shot. Once you give it a shot, I give you 100 leads. Okay. Now these are free 100 leads. I'm going to let you get these free of charge. Okay. Normally, with the buyers group, you'll be given a huge number of leads. Okay. But these are going to be free 100 leads because your main goal is to work these leads, and you're going to need to set 3 appointments and 1 close with these leads. If you're able to do that, you can get into the buyers group and you continue this going forward. 100 leads. That's right. So now I'll give you a ton of information. What kind of questions do we have?
Hey, Paul, I want to take a second to show you how this actually works. There's actually somebody on the call who just finished his real estate course, who's actually an old client of mine, who through the course of meeting him and his brother and his now sister-in-law and selling them a house, and then selling his sister a house. All through when I met Ryan. Ryan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. Ryan, again, I just wanted to touch base because this is like a real world example of how when you and I and Daryl and Janice were looking for a house, you had no idea that I was following some sort of preconceived, pattern, right? Like we were just having the discussions just felt organic, right? And
Yeah.
And then what happens is the follow-up's the key piece after the fact. But like this is real world. Ryan and his brother and sister-in-law bought a house in North Andover after we looked at about 1,000 houses.
That's a lot.
Yeah, can you think back to like when we first met and like I remember standing in the apartment kitchen talking to you guys about what to do. None of it felt scripted, right? Like none of it felt canned, right?
No, it was nice. Everything was supernatural. It was just, like you said, organic conversation. We kind of, hit it off with you in terms of like just having like a really good relationship that,
Right.
As we were out on showings, it was casual, it was fun. It wasn't like it was like doing a business deal. It was, you were just giving your honest advice in what direction we should go. And, you helped us kind of form our own decisions. And it was such a good process. And obviously, me and you stay in touch, for years after the sale. And,
Right.
Send you repeat business and try to refer you to people, so it's awesome.
Yeah. And again, I think the point here is that like the first conversation, I met Ryan's brother and now sister-in-law at an open house. And then again, like Ryan said, we kind of hit it off. There was just kind of this natural connection. But then when the first conversation, when I followed up with them, I followed LP Mama. Like it was like, hey, you looked at this condo in Danvers. Is Danvers the only area you're looking in? Have you given thought to surrounding areas? Have you given thought to what your price point would be in different towns and stuff like that? And then again, what it comes down to is the follow-up and the staying in touch. Now that Ryan's getting his license, this is going to cut into my productivity huge because now he's going to take all those Gagne family deals, but so be it. But again, it's led to other business. And again, it's just this natural, and that's why LP Mama works, is if you know it and it's in your bones, you're not scripting. You're just leading the conversation where you want it to go. Does that make sense to everyone? Like it becomes this natural part of, like when I was scripting Ryan and his brother, I wasn't thinking, oh, I got to talk about location. Oh, I got to talk about price. Oh, I got to talk about, motivation. I talked about motivation. And once I knew what they needed, and everybody's excited to talk about their own motivation, right, Paul? Like that's what sets us apart is once I got to Ryan and Daryl and Janice's motivation, what they needed to accomplish, that's all I talked about, right? Like every showing we went on, the first word they were at the time thought they needed space for Grampy to move in with them, right?
Yeah.
So that's all I talked about. And every email I sent them with a property was, hey, look at a little bit of work here. This could be Grampy's, suite, or whatever. And I just kept reminding them, this is what you need to do. This is what you want to accomplish. All right. Sorry. I thought that was Ryan's on the call. I thought it was a good kind of real world example of this shit actually works. Like, and again, Ryan and Daryl and Janice and I have been like friends now for years. They've referred other business to me. I'm always checking in with them. I'm always sending them risque cards, because that's their sense of humor. So again, once you get to know them, now it's just about follow-up. And the follow-up with like Ryan and his brother is easy because we like each other. We genuinely like, hanging out with each other. Like I went over a couple of months ago, back last year, and watched the Patriots game at their place just to hang out. Didn't talk about business once, right? But so Ryan, thanks, man. Again, I won't charge you a referral fee for all the business you're going to steal from me now, but
no worries. Hey man, if I can make you proud, that's all.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon. Sorry, I just thought it was a good,
No, that's excellent, real world example. Looks like we had a couple questions come in.
so are there opportunities to practice the script and receive feedback from experienced agents?
Yes, there is, absolutely. So when we have
Good
the
question.
group training, yes, great question. When we have the group training sessions, we have everyone from, people that are doing this 10 years to people that are doing it brand new. You'll listen to myself, you'll listen to Ryan, we have guest people come in. People learn all the time. And for the most part, people that have been doing this for years and years still follow a form of this script
Exactly.
because it gets all the information you need. And it might
What it
look a
does too,
little,
Paul, it makes sure you're not wasting your time.
yep,
There's nothing worse than taking a call, and this happens to every new agent. Hi, Paul, it's Richmond. What, you want to see a house? Yeah, I'll meet you there in 10 minutes. Yes, of course. Click. And we get out and look at this $800,000 house, and a week later we find Paul can afford a $200,000 condo. Like, we just wasted so much time and energy and effort and got excited. LP Mom is designed to, okay, let's get to where, so we're fishing in the right pond.
That's an excellent point because there is nothing worse than finding you talk about going through an entire phone call and not getting the appointment. That's bad enough, but if you go through a 2-minute phone call and have no background and no motivation, chances are for them even meeting you there,
Yep.
is slim to none. So it's so important to have that. And part of the reason I actually came onto Cameron Real Estate was about a year and a half ago or so. I started looking at houses myself. I literally put my name, my phone number, and email into a massive lead forms online. I received about, I don't know, 2 or 3 texts, 3 or 4 phone calls, some crappy messages, some people who pitched me a couple different times, and they were terrible. It's straight up terrible. And when I was first going over this with Ryan and LP Mama, I literally told him, this is God's honest truth, that I'm like, if you had pitched me with this a year ago, I'd be a homeowner right now.
Yeah.
Because you really pushed my motivation. You talked about the mortgage, you talked about everything. And I'd be out there looking at houses the next day with you. So that's how I knew it worked. Correct, Ryan Snow.
Yeah. So again, back to Alexander's question about is there time to practice this? That's part of your training. You do 2 trainings a week in the buyer group, right? And a lot of that script practicing. Part of my job, part of the productivity group is we'll practice whatever you want to practice, and we'll role play whatever you want to role play. So yeah, there's ample opportunities. And then there's on the side, there's people that set up separate script practicing with just 1 or 2 other agents. I did, when I was a full-time agent, I did that twice a week. I had script practicing. It's how I started my morning, 2 days a week, and then would just roll into my phone calls. So yeah, there's Alexander, there's ample opportunity to definitely get feedback. And part of the way to work your way into it is you're going to role play it with me, the LP Mama, and Paul. I feel comfortable saying, like, I don't need 100% mastery of it.
No,
like, I just need a working knowledge. I don't feel you're sitting there with a piece of paper in front of you reading off a script, because Paul's going to get you to the mastery level.
exactly.
I would say of the people I've sent you so far, about 50% of them had to get some feedback, go practice for another week, and then come back and try again.
That sounds great.
Just nailed it out. You can tell the people that printed it off, practiced in the mirror, practiced with their spouse or their partner or their kid or dog, whomever, just practiced it and internalized it.
Exactly. And that's a good point. I'm not looking for 100% mastery. This isn't a quiz that I'm checking off,
Right,
are you putting mortgage or correctly? Are you asking the right questions? I'm looking for just a general knowledge of it that doesn't look like, you're stuttering and you're nervous and talking over it. The hardest part about the LP Mama script is when you're practicing in front of your peers, because they all know exactly what you're supposed to be saying. When you're on the phone, if you accidentally skip, the agent part, if you accidentally skip the price part and have to go back to it, the person on the other end of the phone has no idea. Exactly. Sometimes they'll jump straight to the mortgage, and you go over that question, and then you jump back to motivation. Sometimes you'll jump all around. Okay, that's all part of it. As long as you're building great rapport and getting all the information that you need to overcome any objections at the end, it doesn't matter how you do it, but this is just a great self-guide on how to get started.
So yeah, I think too, what sets it apart and what sets new agents apart using LP Mama is the motivation piece. I know you harped on it a little bit, but it's actually what sets you apart as an agent. If you think about it, when I met with Ryan and his brother, if they had met with two other agents, most agents, the crucial mistake most agents make is they talk about themselves. Is they talk about, hey, Paul, this is what I'm going to do for you. And Paul, if you sign with me, I'm going to do this for you. And here's how I get people's offers accepted. And I'm blah, 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 blah. No idea what Paul wants, needs, or why he's doing it. If you set yourself apart just that little bit by, Paul, tell me again, you're renting now, and why do you want that cottage at the beach? Why is that? Blah, 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 blah. And then I'm reinforcing it and validating it. Paul's going to talk more because he's talking about something he's excited about. I'm going to look like I'm listening and I care because I'm listening and caring. And I've set myself apart from that other agent who's just talking to Paul about what I'm going to do for him.
Exactly. Buying a house is probably one of the top three things that you get the most excited about in your life. You know, you're talking about having a child and getting married, and when you bought your first house, or the big three things that you have in your life. This is something that people are very excited about. Okay. And when they start looking, they get overwhelmed. They worry about location, they get worried about price and how am I going to pay for this? And that excitement level drops and drops and drops. And that's when people eventually just say, you know what, I'm just going to sign my lease for another year. I can't deal with it. Now, when you get them talking about why they're looking and how awesome it would be to have a big backyard for their two dogs and how nice it would be to wake up on the beach one day every single morning and to be able to look out into the ocean, that excitement level goes up and up and up. And their trust with you goes up and up and up. And their willingness to meet with you that night or the next morning or as soon as possible is right up there, and they're excited and they're ready to rock. So they're like, yeah, 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, let's go. Let's look at this dream house of mine.
And also, side note, keep notes, like either in Follow Up Boss or keep notes on a piece of paper, because when you call them back, and this is, I'm off on a tangent here, but when you call them back to have that discussion, and Paul mentioned they have two big dogs, you know, Bozo and Bobo, right? And you mention those dogs by name the next time you talk. Hey, listen, I saw this house in Wakefield. Backyard's already fenced in. You can just open the slider and let Bozo and Bobo run out and play. Boom, I'm in. Like I already know I'm in. Like
I still do it.
Yeah, I still do it. I
Notes
do,
in the
of course I
column.
do.
Okay, because it's really easy to put their name, their information up top, and the notes in the column, especially with a follow up. And if they do try to cancel the appointment, you go right back to the motivation.
Paul, can you? I know we said we'd try to keep you under half an hour, but here we are at 37 minutes. Can you talk up a little bit? Anybody has questions, throw them in the chat. I think we got to everything that's in there. Can you talk a little bit about the training you provide as part of the buyer lead group, and like the buyer consult and what that looks like, and
Sure.
how you make sure they're ready for that kind of stuff?
So the training I provide is everything we've gone over now, as well as general sales training. Even with the new agents, you know, you have a tendency to get excited. You have a tendency to, you know, get to the appointment and the person says, you know, okay, today's Wednesday. Yeah, why don't you meet with me next Wednesday? Okay, I had that issue this morning. Okay, the problem with that is I followed up with the new agent and I said, hey, so great job booking the appointment, but why'd you book it for a week from today? And she's like, oh, well, that's just, they offered the time and I accepted it, as opposed to saying, you know, okay, how about tonight or tomorrow morning? The longer you wait, the more the excitement drops and the less of a chance they're actually going to meet with you. So that's part of the training that I work with. My phone is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just like you guys will be as agents. And I'm able to assist and answer questions as we go along. Okay. I also work with different sales modules, such as spin training. That's something that we go into that is a kind of a shoot off of this LP Mama, and it helps the buyer think that, you know, remotivate them and get them going into it. All these different trainings and all these different group trainings. Yep, spin training. It's something that is about 35 years in the making. So unfortunately, we don't have time to go into it right now. But if you'd like to Google it after, it's a really great training method. That has been proven through, I think they analyzed 35,000 sales calls and they found what works and what doesn't work. And that's something we go into as well. The buyer's council is something that once you get the appointment and you're able to actually meet in person, you know, so you need to get them to sign with you. Again, that's a whole another thing where we go into it. We usually train them that, once a week or once every other week. And that, goes through all the legal mumbo jumbo, all the paperwork, reinforces everything that you learn in LP Mama, reinforces the need for them to sign with you to get moving, and just gets you to sign on the dotted line. What's Ryan called an agreement, not a contract.
An agreement,
No
it's never a
one wants to
contract.
sign a contract. So you get them to sign the agreement. So exactly, the buyer's contract. So get them to sign the agreement or buyer's contract. I should change, or agreement should change to. And or no, I'm sorry, we call it buyer's consult. So not the buyer's contract. So get them to sign that so they work with you. So that is the step 2 of the 2-step process that gets the person to work with you. And we work with that every single week.
And again, Paul, to maybe the dead horse may be sufficiently beaten at this time, but this is where our 2 programs work in synchronicity, in that, because I just had this conversation with somebody in the buyer group yesterday who was going out on a buyer appointment, and they were just a little nervous. And I said, all right, I was working from home. I said, let's Zoom this and we'll role play the hell out of it till you feel comfortable. And I told them, like, here's how it's probably going to go. Like, this isn't brain surgery, right? Like, most meetings kind of follow a pattern. And here's how it's going to go. And here's the things you need to be ready to say. The beautiful thing about knowing your objection handlers and your scripts is it frees you up to listen, right? Because I already know, Paul, whatever you say to me, whatever objection handle you throw, whatever objection you throw at me, if we're meeting, I already know. I don't even worry about it, because I know whatever it is, I'm going to handle it this way. So I can actually listen when you're telling me about the beach cottage you want for the 2 dogs, right? Because I'm actually not. The crucial mistake new agents make is waiting for their turn to talk and constantly thinking about what they're going to say. So they're not even listening.
Yep, exactly. And that's the great part is you need to, when you get to the buyer's council, you're already halfway there. You've already built great rapport. You've already built up the excitement. You've already looked at, 3 or 4 different houses, or you're about to look at them that Saturday or Sunday or Tuesday morning, whatever you lined up for them. They're already halfway there trusting you. Now you just got to rebuild that excitement. You have to talk about their motivation again. You have to talk about the different houses and how, talk about things like how excited you are. It's like, oh, you're going to have a big party once you move in. You're going to have a big, the summer's coming up. What's going on? It's like, oh, it's your first house. Or is your family coming over for Christmas this year? Paint the picture in their head, so then when it comes time for them to work with you, they're ready to rock and roll. And that's part of the training we do.
Let's see what last questions we have, and then we'll get you out just under 15 minutes late, Paul.
No problem.
The last questions we have, I think we covered how do you work your way into it. You definitely have to consume Unit 9 and Cameron Coaching, which is the buyer lead series. There's about 24 modules in there. I think it's like 17 training videos and then some scripts and stuff. And then I'll role play the script with you when you think you're ready. I'll give you feedback. If you're ready to go, I just kind of pass you along to Paul, and that's where Paul will, welcome you into the buyer lead group, and that's where the leads come at first, and then you have to prove yourself with the leads and the calls, and to work yourself formally into the group. What's the difference between that first step, Paul? Like, hey, I watched Unit 9, I role played with Richmond. Here I am, and you give me 100 leads. I book my 3 appointments and I sign on at least 1 buyer. So now I'm in the group. So what's the benefit of being in that group formally now?
Sure, absolutely, great question. So you go ahead, like you said, you get everything done and you practice, and you're ready to rock and roll, and you get your first appointment. A problem that we have, which Tom always refers to as a great problem, I have too many leads right now. I can't believe I have to say that, but it's true. I have a lot of leads. Okay. What's that?
Also, I'll take some.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just looking for skilled agents to take on those leads. Okay. And once you're able to prove yourself that you can do it within the first 100 leads, I'm going to be dumping in your book of business as many leads as possible. And I'm going to be doing your management of your lead base, which means that I'm going to be going through your book of business every single day with everyone else in the buyers group, looking at how many calls you've made, look how many texts you've sent, look how many emails, how many different contacts. Anyone that you are 4 or 5 days out that you set to call the next day, I'm going to be reminding you of it. I'm going to be, I'll be taking care of you, coaching you as you go through to ensure that any future leads are worked properly, and any questions you have and any additional coaching you need is taken care of so that you can be the most successful agent you can possibly be.
Nice. Guys, any last questions for Paul before he signs off? Anyone? Bueller?
You're welcome to come to any trainings. That's totally fine. So the trainings are actually posted on the Facebook page, and they are at 11 o'clock on Friday and I'm sorry, 11 a.m. on Friday and 1 p.m. on Tuesdays. You can log into any Zoom call anytime and listen. You can listen to the agents. You can listen to bigger breakdown of LP Mama and the Buyers Council, you know, everything that we do, and you can go ahead and listen on as much as you want. You're welcome to come to the meetings. You don't need to be a licensed agent yet. You can learn anytime. You can come in person, jump on the Zoom call. We're here to help as much as possible, and we're never going to turn someone down.
But we can't, is that, were you answering Martha's question there, but we can't listen to
think so.
agents before then?
The live meetings are going to be Tuesday at 1 and Friday at 11 a.m.
Those are both upstairs, right?
Yep, both upstairs, and you can find more information as well as the LP Mama script on the Facebook page, event page for the meetings.
Right. Paul, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And
Glad to be here.
we'll have something in the Q&A. Let's see if can you repeat the times? I can handle that piece.
Cool.
All
All right, thanks everyone.
Those aren't on Facebook, right? Those are they would need the Zoom link.
The Zoom link actually is on Facebook right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
So there you go. Where would they find it?
In the event log where it'll have the LP Mama script as well as the times and dates.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, Paul.
Well, thanks everybody. I look forward to meeting everyone in person. We'll talk
Get to know
soon.
a lot of these people, I'm sure, in the coming months. So
I hope so. Looking forward to making a lot of money together, guys.
aren't we all? All right, Paul.
Thanks,
Enjoy the
guys.
afternoon. Thanks so much.
Bye.
All right, everyone. I have a hard stop at 2:55 because I have a 3 o'clock training. So let's, do you guys have any questions? Any of the last couple minutes, any kind of free form? Any questions you might have that I can help you with right now? I think next week we're going to do, right now the schedule for next week shows that I'm going to do like a showing at an Ocean City development property, kind of walk you through like what showing a house looks like. I don't know the address yet, so I'll put that out there. If you want to join me live at the house, feel free to do so, and I'll just stream it with my phone. Are there costs to being in the productivity group or the buyers group? Hey, great question, Ryan. So yes and no. So the productivity coaching group, your splits are 75-25 instead of 80-20. So you're only paying into it when you sell something, right? You're getting total access, total coaching, total training, everything, and you're only paying into it when you sell something. So it's 75-25. You keep 75%, 25% goes to the house. If you're in the buyer lead group, and that's why at the beginning I said I would keep the buyer lead group. If I were selling full time right now, I would keep the buyer lead group as one of my revenue streams. It's a 50-50 split once you're in the buyer group. Any company generated lead that comes through the buyer group is split 50-50 with you. So that's why I said I would keep that as, again, for 5 or 6 hours a week, attending 2 trainings and making the required number of phone calls to the leads they provide you. You can literally do it in 6 or 7 hours a week, 5 to 7 hours a week. And you could literally close, 8 to 10 deals off of that, just off the buyer lead group. At 50-50, we look at that as 10 deals is really 5 deals because you're getting half the money. So that's why I said at the beginning, if I was actively selling full time, I would be in the buyer lead group just to supplement my income. 5 deals or 10 deals at 50-50 for the extremely low amount of work I'd have to put into it is kind of a no-brainer. Martha, walk through the owner or prospective buyer. Oh, at the showing, I guess you're asking? That's a good question. Yeah. Never thought about doing it as like meeting with a seller. We can definitely do both. I mean, but yeah, that'll be next week. So again, I'll get a property, an Ocean City development property that's empty. And kind of go out and just walk you through like, hey, this is how you show a house. Like, this is what, these are the things you're going to work on and deal with. Yeah, the buyer lead group is 1,000% worth it for brand new agents, especially because the biggest thing you're going to run into with your sphere is they know you're inexperienced, right? Like, because they know you. So they're going to want some sort of track record with your real estate business. So if you could go to somebody in your sphere and say, hey, listen, I've closed 3 deals and I've got 3 other buyers under contract, right? That's a cachet of business. That shows that you know what you're doing. They have no idea where these leads came from. They have no idea, how you got where you got. They just know that you have 3 pending closings or a closing, or you have whatever it is. You have a track record of business. The other thing it does is it just supplies you with a ton of confidence, right? Everybody, no matter who you are, no matter how good you are at this, you're nervous on that first meeting. I mean, or that whole first transaction. I still get nervous sometimes about transactions, but you know what I mean? Those first couple, you're just a bundle of nerves. This helps give you the confidence to go out on those appointments. And you'll see there's this natural progression from how you feel the first time you go out to meet with a buyer to how you feel like a couple years in going out to meet with buyers. And it all stems from how many deals you do. The other great thing about the buyer lead group and at Cameron in general, the key to all of this, the key to being successful in this business is keeping your funnel full. Well, you'll hear us say this a million times. And I guarantee you somebody on this call, there's 28 of you left on this call. Some of you on this call are going to get that first check or those first 2 checks, and you're going to put your feet up and be like, Jesus, look at this. I just got a $12,000 check. Like, I'm good. Like, I can pay my mortgage for the next couple of months. No worries here. And you're going to stop lead generating. Trust me, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to do it. Don't do that. Don't be that person. You have to, the check, that giant check you get, which is sometimes just absurd, should be the motivating factor for you, right? Don't put your feet up once you get those first couple deals. Getting your first deal quickly is kind of a blessing and a curse. It's obviously a good thing. But if you get your first deal too quickly, I've seen people do it. They think, oh, this is easy. I can kind of swim back into this pool whenever I want to and make a ton of money. Doesn't work like that. You want the funnel full so there's not giant gaps between closings, right? Yeah, and don't forget to take out your taxes. You don't pay taxes on the check you get. You should be, every quarter that you sell something or make a commission, you should be sending estimated taxes to the IRS. So when you file your taxes in April, you've paid off some of what you owe, because taxes do not come out of your commission. Right, you can spend $10,000 is a ton of money. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's literally the first transaction I did in real estate, I think I've told this story before, is an old friend's daughter was looking to buy a house with her husband. We literally looked at 6 houses on a Saturday. I had my license like 9 days, had no idea what I was doing. They called me that Saturday night and said, we want to put an offer in on this house. We put an offer in, it got accepted, and we were at the home inspection like Tuesday. Like, I had my license less than 2 weeks, and not home inspection went fine. We closed like 28, 30 days later, and I got a check. I remember it was $12,011. Like, I remember when I picked it up, I was like, holy Christ, like I'm making like professional baseball player money if you broke it down by how much time I actually spent with these people and working this deal. So yeah, it's a lot of money, and sometimes it comes really easily and really quickly, but other times it doesn't. Is there a real estate association that lets you subscribe to a health plan? I believe, don't hold me to this, but I believe if you're a realtor and belong to a realtor board, I believe there's some way to access healthcare that way. Don't hold me to it though, because I'm not a realtor, so. But again, in Massachusetts, you have access to Mass Health and the Health Connector, which you can privately pay for insurance. So we have another question here. Hey, Richmond, this is oh yeah, Cole, my email is real easy. It's just richmond@cameronrealestategroup.com. Yeah, Cole, just get in touch with me. 255, I'm not sure. Oh, thank you, Cassandra. I appreciate that. Everybody who knows me says, makes fun because I had a hard stop a couple weeks ago on this and I missed my doctor's appointment, had to reschedule it because I kept talking. So Cassandra, thank you so much. Cole, shoot me an email and then we'll touch base about that. That's not a problem. We can talk about that. All right, everyone. So yeah, next week, I'll get an address out to you, and we'll do a showing. We'll do kind of like, hey, this is what it's like to show a house. All right, everyone. Have a great week. You know where I'm at. If you need me, it's just richmond@cameronrealestategroup.com. Thanks for being on, everyone. And those of you that are going to be in the breakout session tomorrow, I will see you there. All right, everyone, have a great afternoon.